Destiny des. Good morning, people. And hello, YouTube. I'm back again because this is a Write with Destiny session. So, some of you may have realized that the YouTube thumbnail has changed. Don't worry, it's still a Write with Destiny session. Why? Because this is not about off screen, this is about on screen, it's just behind the scenes. So, what I'm going to be talking about today, so I have written this point form so I don't go off topic and ramble on too much. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is writing an emotionally heavy scene, especially with love journal, because you guys know I write love journal based on my personal experience. So a lot of it are actually things that happened to me. And the second thing I'm going to be talking about is the complications of being emotionally or self-submerged into your story. So what happens is I'm the kind of writer who actually puts themselves into the story and be involved as if I was there in person. It's I don't know if writers do that, but I submerge myself into that fictional reality when I do it. So I'm just going to talk about some of the complications that I faced recently writing it, and it's interesting. And the third that I'm going to talk about is an INTJ in a relationship. So why an INTJ? Because Scarlett is based off myself, if you haven't figured out yet. And I'm actually an INTJ. Okay, I'm not exactly an INTJ. I'm more of an NT type. So I'm an ENTP as well as an INTJ. Don't ask me why this happens, but I'm writing from a perspective of an INTJ. Okay, so this is how INTJs are in the relationships, and I'm gonna explain what happens and why she did certain things. So let's start off with the first point: writing emotionally heavy scenes. So what happens over here is that, as you know, writing a scene from my memory, especially if it's from some memories, and you guys know my dating history is not so swell. It's very questionable. So I had to pick out some of the scenes that I had to be written inside. So one of the scenes that I wrote is not really miscommunication, how do I say this? Normal people don't exactly understand what a person with PTSD, yeah, I got that right. Oh, it's morning, my brain isn't working. A person with PTSD goes through something that's completely different from the other people. So let me just write that down. Yeah. So our brains work differently, and you can't expect us to go through the normal flow of things. And the beauty of this relationship is that Edward is very understanding. He is very accepting. He doesn't know what is going on, but he reacts in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're unwanted, that doesn't make you feel like you're in the wrong. Because he understands, he doesn't mind. Scarlett still feels guilty, and Scarlett can't help it. She's paranoid. When you have that kind of situation in your life, you doubt everything, including yourself, not just the people around you. So she goes through his things. That's one sign that you're not if you ever are in a relationship and you have your spouse or your lover go through your things all the time and question you, and just that's basically not giving you the freedom to be who you are. That's calling it a trust issue at this point. So a relationship will not work without trust. And Scarlett and Edward are very new couples, so their relationship has to depend a lot on trust. And Scarlett's kind of like a push-pull kind of magnet effect right now. So that's what happened to me. I have a lot of push-pull effects, and what I needed back then was someone who would come after me when I pushed and let me go when I pulled, something like that. So it's like I wanted the opposite of what I was doing, but I couldn't communicate through it because I was just being myself in that moment of insanity. Like, I wasn't sane when I did it, but I was feeling very conflicted. I just needed someone to tell me that it was all right, but that there wasn't anyone. Nobody was there to do that for me. So I walked out. I ended relationships like that. And this scene is very emotional for me because unlike Edward and Scarlett's scene, my reality was I broke up. It was always a breakup. There was no further discussions. There was no, it's okay, I understand, let's talk it out. There was no, I still want to make this work. There was always just that silent and like, okay, so we're done? And I'll be like, yeah, we're through. So it's a rather emotional scene for me. Like, the tears that wanted to fall just couldn't fall because I'm so numb to that kind of scenario. And I wrote Love Journal hoping that, something would change about my life when I write it, because books change me when I write them. And that emotionally heavy scene just made me so tired. Like, I had a rough day yesterday. It was raining, it was cold, and my joints were aching because I previously I learned martial arts and I got a lot of injuries when I was younger. So now that I'm older, they're coming back to just kick me in the butt and say, haha, regret that decision, bitch. No. Okay, so I was driving with that kind of body ache and joint pains, and yeah, I was driving, okay? It was my driving lessons. I still went through it. It was tiring, it was dangerous, it was painful. I was like, am I gonna crash this car in the rain? It was quite a heavy rain. And then I went for a haircut. So some of you guys can see I have a cam. It's purposely to show off my new haircut, okay? So the hairstylist didn't do a great job, I wouldn't say that, but the borders are not open. I can't go to Malaysia to see my usual stylist. I want to put color, but my hair is so dead. I will just make do with this for now because I rock any hairstyle, okay? And yesterday in a whole was not a good day. So like, my insomnia is back, my diet is not there, I've lost weight and I haven't gained it back, so that's a little bit worrying. But for now, just writing the emotional scene was like was a huge toll, I guess. I can't describe how I was like during the stream. You guys could probably tell I was like frustrated. Like, I couldn't get the words out. Like, I wanted to say something, but at the same time I didn't know what to say because it just didn't feel right. Like, I changed a lot of things. And if you guys actually watch my previous live streams and all my live streams that I did so far, I don't usually change that many things. I don't usually change my mind when the words are out. Like, I might change the tenses, I might change the phrasing and structure, but I don't change the content. This live stream, I changed the content so many times because I was emotionally affected. Like, my brain wasn't connected and I had to get certain things out, but I didn't, I basically let the characters write themselves, but I was too involved as myself, so I couldn't see the screen, my mental screen, like the mental movie that plays out correctly. I keep involving myself and thinking that I'm Scarlett and what Scarlett would do if it was me, but that's wrong. I should be thinking what I would do if I was Scarlett. So that was a little bit confusing, which leads to my second point. So the complications of a writer who submerges herself into this fictional reality. I'm that kind of writer. I have to be there in person. I have to participate in that world. So that world isn't just a fictional world to me, it's a reality to me. So I get very affected in real life as well when stuff like that happens. I call it the zone. Like I explained in Love Journal, you can read it. The zone is actually something called the flow. I can't remember, it was a Russian psychologist or something that said when you're in the flow, you forget about everything. It's like you're superhuman and you have this concentration ability to completely ignore everything around you and accomplish what you set off to at the expense of perhaps even your body. So you basically sell your soul for this incredible concentration power to get something that's humanly impossible to be done. That's the flow, but I call it the zone because it works slightly differently for me. Like I'm basically doing exactly what Scarlett does when she's in the zone. So when I'm occupied, I step into it. So there are 3 criteria or something like that for me to enter the zone. I can do this with help and without help. So sometimes it comes naturally, but I can force it to happen. So I always have one step in zone, which is why I don't think I can write when I don't do it full time, because I need to be submerged in the zone to bring out works like this. I can't just be tired after work, get down, sit down and start churning out magic like this. No, it doesn't happen. The reason why I can write so vividly is because I see things and I convey what I see and feel and experience through that world that I was in into these works. And by doing this, it's complicated because what they feel, what Scarlett feels is exactly what I feel. I get affected even though I stepped out of the zone. So on Wednesdays and Thursdays, which is my schedule to write love journal, I completely become Scarlett in and out of the book. And what happens is, because Edward is actually modeled after a real life friend, some of you might know, I wrote it in the author's notes. It's his birthday on the 7th of July, which is over right now. He was my ex like 10 years ago during school days. It was kind of like a crush kind of thing. I don't exactly remember what happened back then, but I do like him as a person, and he was like the only person who is not shitty by the end of the relationship, and the only person I still keep in contact as a friend. All the other relationships is just like, no thanks bitch, bye. This guy is special, okay? He's like my sunshine, because I live in a very dark world. But what happened to my sunshine recently is he has dated this girl, and this girl is not someone I like, because I pulled my sunshine out of depression, kind of. I tried my best to take him out of hell, and now he's going back to hell because of this girl that he's trying to save. So I'm not going to save him, because I know if I do, he will save her, and I'll just be carrying dead weight, and I don't want to carry dead weight. So I'm just gonna let it happen, and when both of them fall to hell, eventually what I foresee is that they will break up, and at that point of time I will come in to rescue him, because she's not in the picture. That's the complication that I face right now. And the part that I actually used him in my novel as the reference for the main lead, Edward, is confusing, because right now I don't know my feelings for this friend. It's very complicated. I might sound like I'm jealous. I might be jealous actually. I might maybe even be like, romantically interested in him, but I'm not a person who understands this kind of thing. So for now, I think I'm just going to sit on it until he either breaks up or announces that he's gonna marry her. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life, because it's so in shambles right now, and getting into a relationship is like the least of my priorities. I have to finish writing the love journal. I will be creating new work, so you guys can look out for it. But for now, I think modeling people out of real life people are best if they're not close to you. So it's very complicated right now. My personal life is in a mess because of the book. It's a price to pay. So if you want to do something like this, be prepared, especially if you're someone like me who lives in a fictional world while they write. That's going to be a hazard. Like, my relationship with him is kind of awkward, so I might pull the MIA on him again for like maybe until I finish love journal. I can't sort my feelings out. It's very complicated. Scarlett loves Edward. She loves him to death, and if I'm Scarlett, you can kind of see where this goes right now. It really messes with your perspective. And okay, so the last one I want to talk about is INTJ in a relationship. For those of you who are wondering what the heck an INTJ is, you can go and Google it. It's a Myers-Briggs personality. There are like 16 types. This is one of the types, and this is by far perhaps one of the rarest as well, especially for a girl. For females, INTJ, it's gonna be very rare, and I am one of those people, which explains why a lot of relationships just don't work out for me. Firstly, because the NT type is an analyst type of personality, okay? So INTJ basically means you're intuitive, you are an introvert, you're a thinking person, and a judging person, okay? So that's what INTJ stands for. These kind of people in a relationship prefer to take it out logically instead of emotionally. But Scarlett is an INTJ by trauma, by PTSD. So she's not a true INTJ. She's an NT type. She's extremely curious. She's highly passionate about things that she's passionate in. That is the trademark of an NT type. She's not a true INTJ, but she shows traits of it by not understanding things emotionally. She doesn't understand her own emotions. She doesn't understand other people's emotions. She has trouble identifying other people's taking hints or something like that. It's a little bit something like autism, but it's not like, she just doesn't get it because she's very closed in. She uses her head more often than anything else, which is why you see there's one scene that I wrote. It's like an extended version of 21 questions for couples. Like you ask a question and then you get a question in return, and then you guys exchange answers about it to get to know each other on a deeper level. So for example, you can ask things like, if we had children, would you prefer a boy or a girl, and why? And then so this is the kind of things that I did while I was in my relationships. And I don't know if it's normal, because I strongly believe that in a relationship, communication is key, and I always do my best to communicate because I know how hard it is not to be heard. I give the people I date chances to explain themselves, but I don't understand why people are not willing to communicate with me. Maybe they did, maybe I just didn't get it, but this is one of the things of an INTJ that becomes frustrating. Like, all they want to do maybe is just, cuddle up and just enjoy the moment. But no, I want to talk. I want to get to know more. I want to find out. I want to discover. And I want to clarify. Of all the things that really pisses my partners off is the need for me to clarify and make things very clear. I have a set of rules. And in order to make this work, I need to understand that this set of rules is understood and respected. And I will go through them, and I will clarify them, and I will ask them, so what is your set of rules? Then we can come to a common term and negotiate and compromise things so that we don't offend each other, and we respect each other. This is my perspective. When I'm in a relationship, I always draw this line. For example, I will say things like, I'm not going to do housework, okay? If you want the house clean, we're going to, hire someone to help out with it. Or I could do things like, okay, this is going to be your zone. I'm not going to touch it. This is going to be my zone. You don't come into it because this is where I work. I want everything the way it is. Something like that. Or it could even be like, okay, you have to give me advance notice. You have to give me 2 hours in advance if you want to make me out for lunch, okay? You have to give me 3 days notice if you want to book me for an entire day for a date or something like that. You have to let me know probably a week in advance or so if you want to come over to my house and meet my parents and stuff like that. So I have schedules, and I keep very tightly to schedules. I am someone who I cannot tolerate people who are not punctual, basically. So it is the thing that really drives me insane when people don't respect my sense of time. My name, Destiny Aitsuji. Aitsuji is Japanese, and it comes in 3 parts. I for love, Su as in Tsubasa, it's a representation of freedom, and Ji for Jikan, which is the meaning of time. I treasure these 3 things, freedom, love, and time, extremely much. So the people who don't respect this don't respect me, and I just cannot tolerate them. So I actually make it it's pretty business-like. If you're in a relationship with an INTJ, they want to get things done. They want to understand what's wrong. They want to fix what's wrong. They don't understand things like, oh, I just need time. I just need someone to console me. I just need someone to be there. I'll be alright. I just don't really need anything. I just need you. No. INTJs don't do that. INTJs be like, you have a problem, okay? Your boss is a dick. Why don't you leave your job? Why don't you change your perspective of how you see things? Why don't you, do it a different way? Why don't you handle this person differently next time? Or maybe you could just totally avoid it. People in a relationship sometimes don't want to talk about that. All they want is just give me cuddles, give me hugs, I'll be alright after a cup of coffee or something. No, INTJs are like, okay, you have a problem, you're clearly distressed, we need to talk about it. I need to solve your problem so that you can be happy and we can move on with life, because this is not the most effective way. This is not the best way to live your life, and this is not how I want to see you. I want to see you grow with me as a better person. I want to see you do your best. I want to see you become the best of what I know you could be. That's an INTJ. And that's me when I speak. So my caliber is very high. I don't mind dating someone who is, not as intelligent as I am, because there are very few people in this world who are more intelligent than I am, okay? There are a bunch of you who are more street smart, and I give that because I have none. But intelligence, I don't really know if a lot of people can match me out. So I don't have very high dating standards. I just want someone whom I can, talk to and work things out. But I guess that's not how relationships work. So for Scarlett to be in a relationship, I actually designed her her love interest as my best friend because he knows exactly how to deal with me. Okay, sometimes all I need is time, and he's just there, and I'll be like, yes, this is what has to be done. And when he's down, I give him solutions. I talk to him, and I'm like, you take it, you leave it. It's your decision. This is what I'm saying. You came to me because you knew what I was going to say. You knew that I was the only person who could tell you and give you a fact check. You knew that I was the only person in reality who could tell you everything that you needed to hear and not wanted to hear. So that's basically the gist of how Edward came about. So I needed someone to be able to deal with Scarlett and all her ups and downs. I needed them to also be able to cater to her growth. Like, Scarlett's not at her max potential. She is a half genius. She is a genius, and she is not going to stop growing. She's always going to be spectacular. And in order for someone to be with someone this spectacular, you need someone of equal, how do I say this? You need someone equally good. You need someone equally bright. You need someone who is on the same playing field as her, who is willing to take up her challenge and run with it. That is how Edward came about. Okay, so my friend is not that kind of person. He is very passive, and I don't like passive people because I feel like they're not doing anything. And I'm someone who is, well, people call me a workaholic. I don't think so. I just like to get things done and move forward with life. So yeah, I needed someone who was there. I needed someone who was always beside her. I needed someone who could run ahead of her and wait for her. I needed someone who was able to protect her. I needed someone who was able to understand her, give her space, and deal with her bullshit of PTSD and everything. I needed someone to not judge her. I needed someone to fully understand, listen to her. Like, listen to the things that she's not saying instead of the things that she's saying, because she doesn't really say a lot of things. She doesn't want to tell you things, but those are things that you have to know sometimes. That's the reason why I designed Edward, because there isn't a person like this in real life. At least not for me. That's the reason why Love Journal was written. Like, I don't write heterosexual romance because I can't do romance. I've been asking myself, what is romance? What's the difference between a romantic relationship and a friendship that's very strong? If you take away the physical aspects of it, if you take away all that, what's the difference? Because between best friends, you have trust. I have trust. I don't keep any secrets from them that they don't want to know, something like that. Like, I have no walls between them. I tell them everything that's on my mind, and they know me very well, that I'm capable of murder if I want to, and I know where they live. Okay, so, but they are still not afraid of offending me. That is a best friend relationship. I enjoy the time I spend with them. I can just do nothing and do everything and still be there, like happy with them. Like, I go over and I get my hair dyed by them. I go over and I break their spoons. It's one of the things that I did before. So these are best friends. Like, I just basically have fun when I do anything with them, and they will take me out. They will be like, you have to experience life like a normal person. I'll be like, yeah, normal is boring, but yeah, sure, with you it's probably fun because I like watching their reactions. So I don't know what's the difference between a best friend and a romantic relationship. If anyone knows, perhaps you can give me your thoughts in the comment section, because this is one thing I still don't get even after writing Love Journal for so long. So Edward and Scarlett's relationship kind of seems like best friends, but they kiss. And the only reason why it's a romantic relationship is because they kiss. At this point, this is what I feel like. This is what I see it as anyway. So yeah, that's all for my rant. I'm still surprised it took me almost half an hour to do this. I guess this is going to be the time that the time limit that all my vlogs are gonna be like. So I will be changing YouTube thumbnails so that you guys can see what topics I'm talking about for the Write with Destiny behind the scenes. I'll still do voiceovers in one takes, and I'll still put it in the videos. I know I have to put a video, a video Intro, yeah, I haven't done that yet. It's on my to-do list, okay? But I have too many things on my to-do list, so just wait. It's not gonna kill you. I don't even have like 1,000 subscribers. Nobody's gonna know me. It's fine, right? So this is all for today's Write with Destiny session. This is for Love Journal. I'll be doing one for each writing. No, each is too much, okay? I'll try and do voice layovers for YouTube like this format more frequently. For the different series that I'll be doing, especially the more interesting ones, so you can get to know me. And I hope that you will subscribe, you will share, you will find this interesting. And if there are any topics that you would like me to cover, please let me know. So for now, I will be going. It's polling day in Singapore. It's polling day in Singapore, yeah. So I have to go cast my votes before I get evicted as a citizen for not voting. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I have to go now. So I'll see you guys when I see you guys again. Hopefully somewhere next week or so, or maybe in a few days. I don't know, a few hours even. Alright, so this is all from me. Thanks for watching. Bye.